Hey, what's going on, everyone? Fine people, fine humans of planet Earth on this incredible, crazy existence, crazy ride that's just getting more and more interesting by the day. The internet has it's just connected all of us, and it's allowing all of us to share. It's given us all the ability to almost be, equal in our expression and sharing and our opinions. It's just crazy, crazy, amazing times. I want to talk about temptation, resisting temptation. Resisting temptation is probably the thing that most humans have difficulty with and gets us into a lot of trouble. And when I say gets us into a lot of trouble, I mean, at the end of the day, what are we here for? Like, there's so many opinions, there's so many perspectives on this. You can argue we're here to be our best, to work our hardest. There's this cool thing that I heard. Someone was a contractor, and they were just talking about their work, but it was interesting because it was also it was true about life. And they said that they try to get up early and get as much work done before the sun goes down. And it's in a way you can look at life in that way, that we're here to express ourselves to the fullest. Who was it? One of the people that Oprah is inspired and influenced by says that, living your truest, fullest expression of yourself, something along those lines. But yes, so this is one way of looking at it, that just expressing yourself, your fullest potential, doing as much as you can. This is a perspective before the sun goes down, right? On our life, on your life. I argue that no matter what you do, you're going to be doing that. Even if you wind up spending all day in your room, or in the end, like, what is inside, it needs to come out. And I think 9 times out of 10 it will come out. And so I believe that it's very difficult to suppress yourself. And you may feel like, oh, you're holding yourself back, getting in your own way, or suppressing yourself, or not living to your fullest potential. You may think all these thoughts, and yes, it could be that you're blocking your path, getting in your own way. But I think that we're just our life is very, very much like a river, and you can put little rocks in the way or even big boulders, but in the end, the river is going to find its way, and you can either dam the river, but it will eventually break through. And as an example, a lot of artists or musicians are creative and are artistic and paint and create music because they have these blocks, these blockages. Because they're incapable of, let's say, expressing themselves just through speaking, through socializing, through whatever means. So they're what they have inside them that wants to come out and be shared, it builds and it builds and it builds, and then it's released through an album. And then people will be like, oh, that guy's always, or that girl, she's always so quiet and shy. But then, wow, look at what she has created, this amazing piece of artwork. So that person speaks. In the end, it's released in different ways. Sometimes it's released in a bad way, these sick people who go and they do the mass shootings or whatever, not many of them are, the athletes of the school, or not many of them are like, the socially accepted people. A lot of them are people that have been neglected, and their voices haven't been released, and then they express themselves, in the in you know in the, when it's done through that way, it's done through a very lazy, just, I don't want to say easy, but it's just done with no, just no love, no, just, it's, I'm not going to get into that, but the point is that it comes out. So what's inside of us, it's going to be released. And in the last 10 years with social media, it's given everyone that ability to release and get their voices heard. And I've argued in some of my past videos that, it's social media may not be such a great thing for creative people, for artists, for musicians, because whereas before, a lot of artists or musicians just weren't able to like talk or communicate or socialize, and so they would do it through their art or their music. Well, now it's like you can go on Facebook and say, oh, I just had a hamburger, or I just went whatever on Instagram. I quit all my social media now. It's been a year and a half. That's another video that I'll talk about. But resisting temptation. Let's come back to the core of this video. It's really, really, really difficult for us, for a lot of people out there, to resist our urges, especially when they are linked to our instinctual urges, like, sex, reproduction, eating, sleeping, getting, feeling better, getting high. There's a long list. I'm sure a lot of you out there can think of other things that are difficult to resist. Our sexual urges is a huge one, or food is a huge one. Resisting the itch to like have something sweet. A lot of us, we're addicted to sugar or salt. We don't realize the sugar is in the pizza, in the sandwiches, in the bread, in the chips, or just the sweet sugary drinks. Being able to withhold and resist that is so difficult. Or resisting, a lot of the people that I work with, my sessions are, helping them to resist the temptation, the urge to contact someone that they've broken up with, or they're trying to get over or move past. Sexual urges, food, all of these, as I said, instinctually linked urges are very, very difficult to resist. And I think my belief in approaching this difficulty is, just like with anything, you've got to practice. And if you look at a lot of faiths and religions, in Christianity there's fasting, in Islam there's fasting, I'm sure in a lot of other faiths as well there's fasting. There's a month or a week or a period of time where people they do it together, they fast together, and I think that's a key. That's very important. Doing it together, doing it as a community, holding each other accountable, finding a group of friends and saying, let's not watch any porn for a month, or let's do no FAP for a month. It's very doable to do all this on your own as well, of course. But if you can find a group of people, find some friends or family or anyone, you can. There's a lot of people out there who would love help with this. So you could even meet people who you have never known, strangers. You can go online and find a community, that's linked to this in some way, and then, just try to find similar-minded people, and then help each other. Like, Fasting is very important. So again, let me just tie these two things together. Resisting temptation takes practice. It's not going to happen overnight. And one of the best practices, in my opinion, is fasting. Now you're seeing a lot of people doing it, not really religiously, but they'll call it like sober October or whatever's. It's like they'll do a month where they'll, I don't know if it's sober October or November, but I think it's October, where they'll just not drink or not smoke weed or not get high for an entire month, and it will be a group of people that will do it. Friends will get together. We're communal beings. We like doing things in a community. No matter how isolated or alone or independent you think you are, at the end of the day, why is social media so huge? Because we like community, and we're influenced by community tremendously. Community gives us our sense of, right and wrong. What are we living in the right way? Are we living in the wrong way? Is that a good or bad thing? The answer I always remind myself of is balance, right? So you don't want to be too influenced by society, because you're also a unique, independent person, and you're an influencer as well. So you mustn't neglect yourself and your own opinion and your own perspective and what you're bringing to the table as well, because a lot of everyone else out there is looking to you. You're their community. So just in the same way that you're going to be looking out to your community and what they're doing, what they're interested in, they're going to be looking to you as well. So don't forget that. So community isn't just about looking outwardly. It's also about bringing something to the table, being brave enough to bring something that's from really within yourself to the table. You don't have to be crazy brave either. You can take something someone's doing and slightly adapt it and release that out into the world. That's what a lot of people do. That's what a lot of artists and musicians, I think Picasso said, good artists borrow ideas, great artists steal ideas. So, nothing is really original. We all have been inspired and influenced from something else, and I think the original inspiration and influencer for a lot of humans is nature. We were inspired to create music because of what we would hear out in nature. I live out in the middle of nature, in the middle of nowhere. All I hear is just birds and animals and the wind blowing through trees and creating sounds, and there's so much music and art in nature. And humans, we're amazing. We see something and we make it our own, and then we release it and we share it. So when we're facing this this challenge that a lot of us face every day, like this resisting the temptation to do something that we know is holding us back, maybe wasting our time. Remember, the way that I like, that I've heard addiction be categorized best is that it is something that takes your control away from you. It's basically a dependency. It's when you become a slave to something else. It's when something is no longer under your control. It's controlling you. It's taking your time, your attention. It's taking up your time and your attention. That's life. Time and your attention, your energy, that's your life. So it's something that comes along and takes your life away. Chunks of your life away. And it can be anything. Addictions can be anything. And the funny thing is that, as I talk about in a lot of my videos, is that what you do more, you become better at. That becomes a bigger part of your life. So if you sit around all day you'll become better at sitting around all day, and getting up and walking around, being more active, will be more difficult. If you're sitting around all day and feeling lethargic, you're going to feel more and more lazy and tired and exhausted and low energy. It's crazy, because you'd think it would be the other way around. You'd think that if I'm out there being active and training and exercising, doing sports, that's going to be tiring and exhausting. Whereas in fact, it's the total opposite. When you're out waking up and training and doing exercise, you feel way more energized and alive. It's just it's crazy, right? Because our bodies are made to be active and to function. So yeah, just fighting is very much about resisting temptation. So any fighters watching this, fighting is life. So everyone out there watching this is a fighter. To be alive, you've got to have fighting abilities, and fighting is all mental. And in fighting, it's really all about, I would argue, fighting is all about resisting temptation, resisting the temptation to lose your focus on the goal, resisting the temptation to allow doubt into your head. And this is a big one for all of us, for every day, for every single aspect of our life. I've done a video on doubt, self-doubt versus self-belief, but I can't do enough videos about this topic. This whole channel should be dedicated to the topic of self-belief versus self-doubt. It's just a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer that doubt really stifles us tremendously. And sadly, 90% of humans, are, just sort of like marinating themselves in doubt every day, allowing doubt to just come in and seep in and just run amok, Whereas self-belief, it seems so difficult for a lot of people to believe yourself. Why? Because, people say, oh, you're so arrogant or cocky, or, you're so this and that, or that person's just, oh, God. Well, I don't know if you've noticed this, but in the last 5 to 10 years, there's this massive uprising of like health and fitness and people doing CrossFit. And, when I started doing MMA and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, this no one was doing that, and now it's huge, and this is good. It's a good thing, but it's interesting why it's so huge, because a lot of us out there, we're suffering, we're going through difficulty, and we're learning a lot from athletics, from fighters, So in fighting, that it's when you're in a fight, in a match, in a competition, in the cage, it's just a constant mental state of not allowing doubt to come in, because you're going to be bombarded with doubt constantly in a fight. You're going to get so exhausted that you want to puke, and then in that moment, someone's going to be kicking you or punching you or beating you up, and your head is going to be filled with hundreds of reasons of why you should just stop, quit, and go home and just relax and have a hamburger and some French fries and stop all this nonsense you're doing. Your mind is going to be full of doubt. It's going to be telling you that your opponent is faster, is stronger, is better. It's going to tell you that what are you doing in here? You don't belong here. So these are just some of the thoughts that fighters go through. And to deal with that on your fight day is going to be just impossible. You've got to train for this. You've got to prepare for this. You've got to be writing. A lot of fighters, they journal. They write, I'm fast, I'm strong. Deeper than that, those are just very basic, simple affirmations. You want to get really deep into this, because we're deep, we're complex individuals, so everyone can just say but if you look at Muhammad Ali or if you look at John Jones, they just keep it simple. I'm the best, I'm the champion, I'm the greatest, I'm the fastest. I'm the strongest, I'm the smartest. So these aren't just nice things to say and to share and to watch. Go and practice them. And excuse me, I'm recovering from a cold. But even if you're not verbally or writing these things down, what's most important is what you're thinking. And are you thinking, oh, my life is just, what am I doing with my life? What's life all about? And where's everything going? And what's the point? And so those thoughts may not help. They may not be helping your life. They might be more on the side of doubt rather than self-belief, right? On the side of self-belief and energizing, inspiring, motivating, healthier thoughts, are going to be that, hey, I'm here. I'm here right now. This is amazing. This experience is amazing. Let me go make the most out of it. If you're finding that, well, you want to do that, but you're finding these difficult temptations are blocking your path or making it more difficult for you, well then consider fasting, because the power of fasting is that you're attacking the temptations rather than the temptations are attacking you. What do I mean by that? I mean that we tend to just go throughout our day and then we get hit, we get attacked by a temptation, we get hijacked by it. It's sort of like being done on temptation's schedule rather than our schedule. When we fast, we're basically saying, as of tomorrow, I'm taking control of my time and my attention. So it's basically putting everything in check. It's you taking control of your life. It's you becoming the alpha mindset of your vehicle. Because your vehicle, I believe, our brain, our mind has hundreds of personalities, hundreds of characters. I'm not talking about schizophrenia here. I'm talking about every person, every situation. When I go see my family, it's a different mindset. And I almost continue on in that mindset from where I left off when I was last with them. When I'm with different people bring out a different, totally unique, different personality out of me. Of course, my core personality is always going to be, it's going to always exist throughout all of my interactions with myself, with everyone, but I'm going to be much more different when I'm on my own than when I'm with my girlfriend or my family or, my gym mates. And there's nothing wrong with that, okay? We use different interfaces in order to navigate through the world. But at the end of the day, you're going to have core values, core principles. You're going to say, hey, I don't lie, whether I'm with my mom or with my girlfriend or with my gym mates. So that's a common characteristic that's part of your core. But when you go ahead and start fasting, you're basically taking charge, and you're taking charge of all those characters within you. You're going to have within you a tough, badass character. You're going to have within you a child that just wants to be taken care of, hugged, and wants to cry, curl up in a ball and cry, and it's just delicate and sensitive. You're going to have, we all have all of these. You're going to have the thinker, the smart person in you. You're going to have the creative, artistic person. You're going to have the wild, free-spirited person. You're going to have the conservative. We all have different aspects to our character and personality. It's impossible to just have one way of doing things. It's just, our mind is so fluid and it's constantly evolving and learning and sharing, and you're never the same person twice, because 5 minutes ago you're different to who you are now. You've just learned some things, you've experienced some new things, so we're always evolving, we're always expanding, and when you're able to strengthen that overriding personality within you that is almost like the father, the parent, the mature one that keeps everyone else, in their place. You don't have to control or dominate. Remember that, even in the real world, it doesn't work in leadership or management. If you're a parent or a manager or a coach, telling people what to do doesn't really work. It's more about lead through example. Just you be it, and then people will look and model themselves and be inspired and want to be around you more and more. It's the same with this. When you strengthen the part of that personality within you that is the disciplined, the one that is setting the example, that is saying no, that is saying less, that's saying, do this and do that. When you strengthen that, even just a little bit every day, it becomes easier, it becomes stronger, it becomes more prevalent. And then that's when you see people that they're just doing it, and it's just automatic for them because they've just done it little by little by little. So that's all it is, just do it little by little by little. And don't be afraid of what some people call relapses, like falling down again. And, like, let's say you're trying to quit eating, let's say porn or eating sugar or whatever, and you've done it, you did a great job for a week, and then you just like totally let it rip, and, and you feel miserable, right? You feel like, oh, I'm never going to make it. Well, that's not the correct way of thinking, because the truth is that you were able to do it for a week. That's amazing. And it's not going to happen in just a week. You're going to, for sure, fall back down. It's just, how can anyone just flip a switch overnight? You're talking about months, if not years, of conditioning, mental conditioning. So, when I talk to a lot of my clients, I use the example of, if you've been training at the gym every day for 10 years, 20 years, every day, just push-ups, treadmill, whatever it is, and then you stop training tomorrow, are you going to be out of shape in a week? Of course not. You're still going to be ripped and shredded, and you're still going to be fit and strong. It's the same thing here, Conditioning is, it takes time. So in order for you to overcome your temptations, get over whatever it is that might be holding you back, just do a little bit, creating the new habits, and however small they are. And I think fasting is a really, I guess you could say, a quick, I would say easy way to like make a lot of progress very quickly, because you're basically taking a big chunk of time and you're conditioning yourself during that period of time. And 3 months is usually a magic number for a lot of things. Even on medications, you'll see, take this for 3 months, or diets, they'll say, do this for 3 months. Because 3 months, I agree that I've seen this in my life, that 3 months is, there is something interesting about it. There's even people that have said, I can't remember where I read this, but I was reading how our cells regenerate every 3 months. Go educate yourself on this, but the point is you want to do something where you are reconditioning yourself very slightly until you're where you want to be. And I guess the core and gist of this video is, consider fasting, and consider finding people that you can do some fasting with, even if it's just one other person who has similar goals to you, wants to quit porn, wants to lose some weight, whatever it is. All right, so sending everybody out there all the best. Just remember, this is not easy. It's a difficult challenge, especially when we go online and we see everyone out there, and what is it all about, really? When you look at online, it's all about sex, money, decadence, right? Food, how hot this girl is, how hot that guy is, look how hot my girlfriend is, look how hot my boyfriend is, look how much fun we're having, look how cool we are, and all this, right? So that's the world we live in. Like, it's if you just go back 100 years ago, what was an attractive, let's say, woman? Let's talk about women. Because men, like 100 years ago, just being a man was all that mattered. Back then, what was attractive to women, to men, was a bigger, more full-figured women. They were the hot women. The most attractive women were full-figured, and because it was a sign of wealth, it was a sign of good health, mostly wealth and status, right? Being able to eat and feed yourself, and and just think about that for a second, especially the guys watching this. Just think that 100 years ago, like a large woman, that was like the equivalent of like all the gorgeous, thin women we're seeing now on Instagram or whatever. That was the equivalent. So the point here is that what we're attracted to, or what we think is cool or great, is always going to be ever changing. One moment we think, big guys, overweight men are attractive, and then 50 years later we think shredded, lean, muscular people are attractive. Then 50 years from now you're going to think same sex, or it's just we're constantly fluid and changing. Keeping that balance, though, with your core is important. That's why we don't want to be too influenced by our surroundings and society, because if we are, then you turn on your phone nowadays and society is telling you sex, food, travel. Some of these things aren't bad, but we don't want them to control us. We want to be controlling. We want to be writing our stories. We don't want someone else to be telling us what we should be doing with our life. Balance is okay. Getting ideas from society is okay, but we don't want, it to be running our life to the point where we're going to look at our life and be like, I'm not partying every day. I'm not eating the most delicious, amazing, vegan meals or amazing steaks. My girlfriend doesn't look like, half the women that, I go on Instagram, or my life doesn't look like that. So, I keep all that at very arm's length, and, it helps me to focus on where I am and what I want to bring to the table, and don't be fooled into thinking that this is all something new. This has gone on for thousands and thousands of years in our species. We go through decadence. We go through periods where it's all sex and partying and eating, and the French went through this, and it's just throughout history you're gonna read about this, periods of time where we go through just decadence. It's the best word for it. And then shortly after those periods of time is when we go through our spiritual, realization, awakening, and becoming more conservative. So, history comes and goes in waves. The patterns are in waves, and all that's important is your health, your energy, your time, being inspired, being energized, being motivated, getting out there, creating, sharing, doing something, or just going at your own pace, sharing your experience. And, when I say sharing your experience, all that means is, just go have a conversation with someone, or just me sharing these videos is me sharing part of my experience with you, my perspective. All right, so anyway, I hope this helps a little bit, and I just want to say a big thanks to everybody out there who's been supporting me through my Patreon page, and everyone who I work with, all my clients. Actually, I'm glad I brought this up. I have a client I've been working with recently. He's a really cool guy. He's quite funny. And in our last session, James Bond came up. And he's a big fan of James Bond and kind of likes to model himself a little bit on James Bond's attributes and characteristics. And we came up with, as we were in our session, we were talking about, well, you know, what makes James, a person like James Bond, that character so like cool and appealing, is that he's constantly on a mission. In other words, he has constantly got goals. You know, I talk a lot about goals and gratitude, and that happiness is a place between goals and gratitude. You know, and if you look at James Bond, he's constantly on a mission. And I want to wrap this video up because this video is about resisting temptation. And another important practice to help us resist temptations that are not serving us in our life is to have missions for yourself. That overriding personality that's in charge that I talked about earlier, like the parent, should be setting objectives and missions and goals for you. In England, I played with a band, and they were a small band coming up. They supported my band once, and they were called My Pet Me. I really like that band name because, you know, we are our own pets, and we have to take care of ourselves. We have to give ourselves food and water, but it's not just food and water, it's other things. Esteem needs, like, you know, setting goals, having a mission. You know, most people that are going through depression or serious, like, it's not serious, but, you know, difficult things in life, don't actually have any goals or don't have a mission. And that's all it is. And once they insert a mission into their life, you know, I like to have many missions. You also don't want to have too many, but because then you'll wind up not doing any of them. But I want to have at least 2 or 3 missions going on at any one time. You know, it could be that you want to write a book, it could be that you want to open your own yoga studio, it could be that you want to open your own coffee shop or restaurant, or you want to buy a home, or you want to start a family, or you want to lose some weight. You know, there's long-term missions, there's short-term missions. You know, like you want to run a marathon, you want to quit porn, you want to do no fap for a week or a month. So, you know, think about that. Ask yourself, well, what are your missions in life? You know, what are your missions? Do you have like a long-term mission, goal? You know, do you have those long-term goals? They're important. Don't neglect them, because that's what's going to get you energized and excited. So those are very important things. You know, you look at, I hate to bring him up, but he's always on TV, and you know, but Donald Trump, he's you know, not the best guy, but always on a mission, always like setting new goals and trying to achieve them. You know, I would say that perhaps, I don't know the guy, but perhaps his weakness might be he's too extreme on the goals and mission side and not close enough to the gratitude side of things. Because, like I said, happiness is all about not just goals, but about gratitude. Because, you know, even if you don't have a mission or goals or objectives, just practicing gratitude for everything you do have is a very powerful and very effective, simple thing. You know, when I went and did a 10-day meditation, it was a silent meditation, and when I came back, like, I just felt like, oh, I don't need to do anything. Like, nothing matters. Like, my record label, my music, my MMA, my kickboxing, my jiu-jitsu, all these things that were going on, like, I just felt like none of them like matter. Like, just I know how to find happiness, and it doesn't have anything to do with any of those things. And that was the effect of me practicing meditation every day, practicing gratitude every day, unplugging. And I highly recommend that if any of you live by a Vipassana meditation center, they're all over the world. I managed to do one when I was in Thailand. There's one right here in California where I live. It's up in Joshua Tree National Park. And they're free. You go and they're donation based. They'll cook for you. And they're really amazing. If you can just do a weekend or a week or a month or 10 days, it's so energizing. Of course, you can do this at home in your life. I'm not going to lie. It's difficult in the society, the world we live in nowadays. It's difficult. Is it doable? Yes, of course it is, but it's difficult because of the distractions out there, right? The temptations. All right, so I'm sending everybody out there all the very best, and I hope that at least 1 or 2 or 3 or maybe more people out there will be able to apply these things, and improve on your life, move your river onto a more enjoyable path. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, At the end of the day, it's just about enjoying your ride, All of this, me getting up and training hard all day long, is so that I enjoy my life. It's not so I live longer. Maybe that could be a perk of training so hard, but I'm not doing it to live longer. I'm doing it so that I feel better every day. Because I have been overweight, I have been out of shape. I used to drink, and maybe I'll put a picture, on this video of what I used to look like. But I was like 210 pounds and very overweight, and I just couldn't even bend over to pick something up. Now I'm like working on my house, going up on the roof, and I'm so active. I'm like doing a lot of things. I just feel better. I go on a flight. I used to go from England to Los Angeles or vice versa, and at the end of it, I'd be just exhausted and destroyed because traveling can be energy draining. But being in better shape, you're just in better shape. So you do a 10-hour flight and you still feel great. So I think you'll get the gist of it. So, I honestly wanted to do a 5-minute video, and now it's turned into 42 minutes. So, all right. If you're still watching, thank you guys and ladies and gentlemen for tuning in. A lot more to come. Excuse the lack of updates. And again, to all my Patreon supporters, you guys are amazing. I can't thank you enough. And shortly after this video, I'm going to post a video just for my Patreon page. All right, everybody. Adios for now. Peace.